25 years ago, I got my first car, which was a Holden Gemini, and I made ends meet by delivering Domino's pizzas, and I would spend all my pay on mods and tools. About 5 years ago, I found this awesome Gemini coupe in Japan, and I decided that I wanted to turn it into my ultimate first car.
But getting a car that is that old and needs that much work actually takes a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money. And then that got us thinking, maybe Domino's could help us make it happen. So we decided to call them. Well, we called them out on the internet, and it went down like this. What if, Martin, for Domino's, they gave us the budget to make the ultimate pizza delivery vehicle?
No, it's got to be a Gemini, dude.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
We get your Gemini, turn it into a delivery vehicle.
If they do that, I will deliver pizzas for a whole day for you anywhere you want in Australia. I'll deliver them out of my Gemini.
So after that clip came out, we actually got contacted by Domino's, who agreed to help make this mad Gemini project happen.
So the long-awaited build is about to kick off. Let's go.
Welcome to an absolutely epic episode of Mighty Car Mods. There's something special about old cars, isn't there? Something that you can't quite put your finger on. Even though I can almost put my finger through this rust hole here, but there's something about old cars, the design of them, the history of them, the smell of them, the feel of them, and the fact that they've had so many stories before you've even possibly owned them, and I think that is what makes them so compelling to work on as a project car.
And a Gemini, it's pushing 50 years old. This one is one that we found in Japan, and it was broken. Didn't work very well, didn't know much about it, but through magic of the auction system over there, managed to score it really cheap, just a couple of $1,000s, which is unheard of these days. I've always wanted to do a Gemini coupe, whatever you want to call it, project. I've had a lot of them. My very first car was a Gemini, much like this one, and I wanted to do it right ever since. It's been a long time coming. I know a lot of you have been excited about this and waiting for it, and now is the time that we're going to get started and make this thing awesome.
Marty, why do you love them so much? What's special? Bring me, as the new person who doesn't know, how do I become a Gemini Weirdbeard? Why?
Okay, firstly, when I was getting my license, they were everywhere. It was a really good option. My first Gemini was $300. So when you're a teenager, you just got your license, you know how much cash, bang, Gemini was a good option. Your other option were all front-wheel drive, like early Corollas and early Astras and other stuff that wasn't that interesting. I like the fact that it's small, also rear-wheel drive. I like the fact that at the time, especially, again, not much money to spend on it, economical. They've also stood the test of time. People have turned these into race cars, drag cars, burnout cars. And there was just a lot of them. And I don't know, like, style, you love it or hate it. Does a 240Z look better? Yes, I guess it probably does. This is kind of a one class of car, smaller though.
But it's chunky.
It's kind of chunky.
And you know what? It feels sincere. You know, like minis feel kind of funny.
Yeah.
This feels like I got a job to do.
And I think they drive pretty nice for what they are, considering it's like, 70s or probably earlier suspension design and all that sort of stuff.
It's about to drive a whole lot nicer.
It's about to drive a whole lot nicer.
And a whole lot faster.
So to address the elephant in the room, yes, it's taken ages to get to the point where we can pull it out and seriously make some progress. Some keen-eyed viewers would notice that up the back, there's some engines there that look like engines. Well, you'll find out. But anyway, the parts are here. There's a box of parts in there. Our job, and we don't have very long to do this part of the job, is to strip it back to the point where it can be painted. So this used to be yellow.
The paint job is horrendous.
It's bad.
Like really I don't know if it was a home... I mean, look, we can't talk. We painted a Civic in the wind, under a tree, on a driveway.
Yeah.
This is not that much better.
No, it used to be yellow. Someone's painted it black. There's actually pictures that circulated of this car sitting in a dealer in Japan or a workshop before we even owned it. And it looked a bit better, but it didn't look that much better. So we are going to get it painted and do the best possible job that we can do with that. We're going to help get it stripped out and get it ready. Luckily, the inside is just perfect. You don't see that anymore with a Gemini. You will not find a Gemini with a nicer interior of this era than this one. And I'm just so happy with how that is. So we're going to carefully remove that, remove all the junk that we don't need, which is a lot of it, and then get it off to get painted.
For a car of this age, the inside is near perfect and original. The black vinyl has withstood the elements, even if there is some questionable stereo equipment floating around. The same can't be said for the outside, which has not only been colour changed from yellow to black, it's got rust, which is almost inevitable on a car of this age. The engine had to come out in Japan due to import restrictions, just like our 240Z, but it was in a pretty sad state anyway, so we'll need to replace it. The first job is to remove, well, everything.
We've come so far. This is all like exhaust gas recirculation stuff from the late 70s when the fuel crisis was a thing and people were trying to save save money on fuel, but also clean up cars, smog rules, stuff like that. That is all going in the bin because whatever we put in will be much more modern and much more clean and efficient than this.
We're removing a heap of old parts like the ignition coil, aircon setup, relays, solenoids, and a mile of vacuum lines. Things have come a long way since the 70s, and most of this will be completely updated, modernised, or straight up deleted by the time we're finished with it.
Everything that's left in there has to be pulled back through wiring looms, aircon, heating, so everything else that we could find has been pulled apart. Now the only thing that's got to happen is the interior needs to be stripped, and then it can go off to paint.
While most of what's left in the engine bay is going into boxes, probably never to be seen again, the interior needs to be carefully disassembled and put aside so we can refit it after paint. Some small amounts of retrimming will be required, but overall it should look great as it is. Fortunately, you can buy replacement rubbers and plastic clips, so we'll be able to refresh all that stuff to make sure the interior works as it did when the car rolled out of the factory. Some of these metal trims on the doors end up being a one-time fit, so only some of them will go back on.
Lots of people have all these romantic ideas about an old car. Oh, I don't want a new car, I'm going to get an old car. It'll be so awesome, it'll smell and feel and sound like it used to. That's what some people think of when they think of old cars. This is what I think of, because this was my first car. So, well, this model of car, not this exact one. So I think of jobs like this where, as you take off your metal trim that you'll probably never get back on again, literally the car is falling apart, turning to dust in front of you. Look, that's part of the door that used to be there. All the stuff falling out of it, that's car.
I'm getting flashbacks of working on the driveway with some very basic tools. It was a long time ago though, so I'm a little bit worried about getting it back together.
One of the first photos I have in my phone, I didn't take it on my phone, but it's a photo I've kept for whatever reason, is my first Gemini, and working on it when I was in year 11 or year 12 at high school, on the driveway, a driveway some of you might recognise, giving it a wash and fixing a heater box that was leaking. Here it is. So there you go. That's circa 1999, I think. Yes, I know some of you weren't born then. Old man Gemini. Found some cool stuff in here, people. The carpet's in good condition. The interior is in amazing condition, which I'm so happy about. It doesn't stink. It doesn't smell like durries at all. Not like cancer sticks, not like lung busters, not like darts, nothing. It's awesome. But what I have found, stereo gear. A Gex T50 FM AM hideaway tuner. So the tuner's here, and this is the control unit for it, which someone's just looks like they've hacked in with a butter knife, but hey, it's there. And I've also got a Carrozzeria power amplifier Gem 600 35 watt plus 35 watt. I have actually used one of these before. I dug it out of some BN Commodore back in like 2001 and then sold it for like heaps of money on eBay. But there you go. That's some cool stereo stuff that's going to come out and in the bin. The reason I'm doing all this is to get the carpet out. Because with the carpet out and the back trims out and the back seat out, we're good. I think I'm not going to touch the headliner. It's so good, but I really, really don't want to have to pick it off. So a few discoveries. One is that for some reason all the carpet is held down with slaz, that real sticky black stuff that doesn't ever come off. Other interesting fact is rust. Not that bad. This is just typical being left in the rain and the window seals aren't that great, or the windscreen leaks a bit because the water's come in, run down and sat and pooled. And I mean, that is the job of these things, I guess, is that you can drain water out of the car. So both of them are a bit rusty, front and back.
That's the car stripped. Now it's time to head down and see Joey and Alec at VIP Smash and Mechanical to get started on the bodywork.
As expected, anywhere that rain and water gets is where the rust is. The worst of it is here. Not terrible because it's not in the actual rails, it's just this little panel up here. Funnily enough, there's no rust along the top, which is where I would have expected to see it. And the only other places, there's some surface on those areas, but that's not a big deal at all. A little bit in the bottom here where the water has come through and collected. And then again in the rear tyre well, spare tyre well. So anyone that's had a Gemini has probably dealt with that kind of stuff before. You can still buy the replacement panels, which is just nuts. The roof is perfect, which is great, so no work required. A lot of the panels, like the bonnet and the doors, really good condition. So basically today we are going to strip it as much as we possibly can in the time that we've got. Just everyone's on board. Joey's on there, Alex on there. We've got our mate Jackie here as well. And we're just gonna strip it. So let's do it.
Blowing your entire car apart to paint it is a huge undertaking, and plenty of project cars have stalled at this point because it requires a huge investment of time, money, well, often it's both. The boys have agreed to do me a good price and the use of their shop consumables and their help if I come to work on it myself as much as possible. So we'll be down here for a few weeks getting this thing stripped, prepped and painted. Anything that's rusty has to be stripped back and treated, and if it's too far gone, the surrounding metal has to be cut out and replaced completely. I did consider sandblasting or acid dipping the car at this stage, and it was definitely an option, but once we worked out that we're mainly dealing with a few small sections of rust, we decided to do it all in-house to save time and money. That meant the sound deadening had to come off, and any rusty panels that were spot welded to the chassis could be drilled out or ground off.
So our Gemini build hit boost thanks to Domino's, because a full car restoration takes ages and is expensive and there's no way around it. But thanks to their help, it's happening and we're having some tasty lunch. We bought this, by the way, no freebies, but maybe I should talk to them about that for next time and just get 10 times as many.
There's a number of brackets that won't be required with the new engine setup, so we're going to take this opportunity to get rid of them, but I'm going to leave some of the original threaded holes to mount things to later on. Most of this stuff is spot welded in place, and with some careful use of a drill bit made for drilling these out, they come off with a little bit of encouragement from a hammer and chisel. Then it's a matter of smoothing out the surrounding metal so it can be primed and painted and look like they were never there. We've blown through a heap of wire wheels to get rid of rust, dirt, old paint, and anything else that's attached itself to this old car during the last few decades.
I'm feeling good. I'm exceptionally dusty and dirty. We've been making some great progress. The aim for today was to strip the car as much as we possibly can. So get any rust off it, just grind as much crap, any adhesive, get all the stuff on the floor out of it. And it's been going very, very, very well. We're probably gonna have to come back another day to continue on it. But it's going to be a long one because painting any car takes freaking ages, but I'm feeling very good about it.
Does it feel like it's been 4 visits to the paint shop yet? That's right, 4 full days and we are not even in primer yet. Stripping a car right back takes a heap of effort, but with up to 5 of us on it at a time, we are making some great progress. We can't afford to leave any rust because it never sleeps and it will eventually bubble back through our fresh paint job. So plenty of grinding, brushing and rust converter is being used to fix it. We have identified some key areas that need major rust repairs. The battery tray has copped a few leaky batteries, and when you consider they usually last 3 to 5 years, this car would have had lots of them. The best way to repair this is to cut out the entire rusty panel and make a new one, weld it in, grind it back and paint over it. The inner guards have some rusty spots and the wheel arches do also. Aside from that, it's mostly surface rust that we've managed to catch just in time before it got too bad.
That's rusted because of the battery tray, right?
100%.
Every time.
Anytime, every time.
I feel like anywhere that there was either something leaking out or water leaking in is rusted.
It always is a case, or when, it's not always, but when it happens, a battery can expand and explode in itself.
Yeah.
And when it does, it slowly leaks out and ends up eating out the body.
And so all these seals, all these seams that are in here,
Yes.
that is, I'm assuming, where water would have sat and moisture would have sat.
Definitely.
But once we dig it out, it's actually not that bad. Like around here, I thought we'd have to probably replace this, but once I ground back a bit of the That's basically the dirt.
Yeah, and you
crap.
actually see what you're dealing with, and believe it or not, what looked like it was a big project ends
Yeah.
up slimming down itself
Yep.
on its own. It shouldn't take too much long. I give it about 2 weeks.
Yeah, cool.
So everyone can see and understand what's
Yeah.
happening and has an understanding of the deadline
Well,
that
that's
we're playing
exciting,
with.
man.
You
I can't
know?
wait. We might even see the colour today. We're going to spray it on
Yeah.
the sample card.
Don't say
we may
might.
or may not show you. But we're going to have a look at it and see what it looks like. So, all right, we're going to keep doing
No,
some panels.
all
We're going to
good.
keep attacking it. Thanks, Joey.
Thank
Doing
you
a good
too,
job, man.
buddy. I really appreciate it.
Let's go.
All right, it's back onto the tools and we are going to go hard to get this thing done.
So the hanging panels, like the guards and the bonnet and the boot, are all basically ready to high fill and then block. So almost no damage on it, which is great. I think because this was painted in Japan, and when they painted it black, they probably fixed a fair bit of stuff. We found a little bit of bog in it, but not that much. This just right now requires high fill, then it gets blocked, and that's what makes it glassy smooth, but these are coming together real fast. This, however, if it doesn't require repairs and doesn't have rust, that's the same for basically any car. It doesn't matter if it's 10 years old or 40 years old or 45 years old, like in our case. But our shell is the bit that's going to take a lot of work, because where it's sat and where the rain got into it, that's where all the damage is. It just seems like it was a really nice car that sat outside for 5 or 10 years and the water got to it. So we fix all those areas and then we can sort of high fill the whole thing, rub the whole thing back, put the colour on. That's going to look so good. I'm so excited to show you the colour. Oh.
Choosing a colour is a big deal. I definitely don't want black, and yellow is even further down my list, but I've given it lots of thought and I think I've landed on the right choice.
This is the exciting bit that I've been waiting for. We're going to mix up and spray out a colour card to see what it looks like. Been agonising over what colour to paint the car. Some of you will have a clue of what colour it's going to be, but let's just see how it goes. Mix it up. We've got our formula, which we can't show you because it's our top secret formula. Going to mix it up, spray it on a card, and maybe we'll show you, or maybe we won't.
This colour doesn't exist in the manuals and sample cards, so we've had to do some extra digging and matching to get it just right. By spraying out a sample card, we can make sure it would look as good as we hope before we order multiple litres of the stuff to cover the entire car. It also means we can put it under artificial light and sunlight and make sure that it flips and looks excellent.
There's some silver in there, some black, some grey, some white, some red, some blue. Could be anything. Let's stir it up and have a look, shall we? Oh, what? Oh, it looks so good. I would never have guessed it would come out like that. That looks freaking amazing. How does it look in black and white? Does it look good in black and white? Looks good in colour. Maybe you'll have to wait till the next episode to have a look. Stick with us, people. The Gemini build continues on Mighty Car Mods.